Organised by the Students' Association, today's talks aimed to raise awareness of changes made to higher education in last year's federal budget, including increased fees and charges. Many fear that higher education is simply becoming too expensive for many people. Meanwhile, some of the students' talents have gone on display at the University Gallery. The Faculty of Art and Design is presenting the best works by the 1996 graduating students in a display titled Rear View.
It shows work from all of the disciplines that we teach under: painting, video, ceramics, photography, industrial design, graphic design, illustration. The list goes on.
Some of the works reflect the students' personal beliefs or cultural background, while others capture a specific emotion. The exhibition opens tonight and runs until the 27th of April. Emma Siossian, NBN News.
A second gruelling day on the stand for Alastair McLean, the mine deputy who reported excess water 3 times prior to the tragedy. Just 24 hours before the 4 men were drowned after cutting into an old waterfield shaft, Mr McLean reported a considerable amount of water. But under cross-examination, the mine deputy said considerable amount should be changed to a trickle of water. The confusing and contradictory evidence prompted counsel assisting David Kirby QC to ask whether anyone had suggested he downplay his report. Mr McLean denied the accusation. When Mr Kirby asked whether he was sure, the mine deputy said, "I'm quite sure about that." And fresh doubts today over whether or not the company had decided to test drill for dangerous deposits of water. In an interview after the tragedy, Mr McLean had delayed giving an answer about drilling. Mr Kirby asked, was the reason you needed time is that you perceived your answers may be bad for the company? Mr McLean replied, no. The hearings continue in Newcastle tomorrow. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
These 3 men, along with 500 of their workmates at home on Merseyside, have been on strike for the past 18 months. They're in Australia to offer thanks for financial help the Maritime Union of Australia is only too happy to give.
There's very little we could do here practically, but what we can do practically is to make sure that they've got finance to carry on the struggle.
The Liverpudlians also come with a warning. With recent changes to industrial relations laws and the Howard government's eyes on waterfront reform, they say there are lessons to be learnt from their experience under Conservative rule.
But it's paramount that workers have got to be woken up and be made aware that the days of wine and honey are maybe over, and therefore you've got to get yourselves together, you've got to organise yourselves, but more important, you've got to fight with your union.
If it does come to a fight, local unions will ask their British colleagues to return the favour of support.
If the onslaught comes upon the people of Australia, that we, as the working class people of the UK, and Liverpool in particular, we will definitely repay them. There's no question about that.
Polls in Britain are showing a return to Labor government after 18 years. The Merseyside workers are hoping they're right.
It was smiles all round as the Wildfires launched season 97, their third in the AAMI Cup. 1995 saw the first grade side take 11th position, one better last year in 10th. But all eyes are on 1997. The club has been hard at work in the off-season, working on a solid tight 5. Selectors also have the task of choosing from 4 halfbacks for the first grade side. It's a luxury the club's never before had.
The depth appears to be there that we haven't had in the other seasons, and that can only augur well for the results.
The Wildfires have also been hot in the pre-season, with comprehensive wins over the University of New South Wales, Manly and New South Wales Country. They go into this weekend's opening round of the Hahn Cup against Warringah exuding confidence.
I equate Manly's pack nearly to Warringah, And to put it bluntly, we thumped Manly 2 weeks ago, and that's what won us the game. And if we can reproduce that, and there's no reason why we can't, we've got to be a big show against Warringah.
Blake Doyle, NBN News.
Around 50 people turned out at the Lake Macquarie Council Chambers today to celebrate an Australian first. The book is the only such journal on the history of the Meals on Wheels organisation. Author Joan Fulton says it took her 2 years to research and compile.
When I went to the libraries to find out about Meals on Wheels, there was very little I could find out, so I thought, well, I'll make inquiries of the state organisations, and I put all the information together.
The 80-page book traces the origins of the valuable service back to England in World War II, when it was used to feed civilians during air raids. The idea then caught on in Australia, the first meals being delivered in a red and white tricycle in 1953.
It started out in South Melbourne, mainly for the people who couldn't leave their homes to go to kitchens.
Simone Cobb, NBN News.
Newcastle is the third largest licensing district in the state, and it's had its share of alcohol-related problems.
There were assaults at and near the venues, PCA or drink driving matters, domestic violence, through to break, enter and steal.
But police have moved to reduce the problem in a unique program. Between January and December last year, both victims and offenders at alcohol-related crime scenes were asked to fill in a small survey detailing where they'd been drinking. The information was fed into a computer, police then able to target problem venues.
At this stage we have 10 places to provide feedback to, which is quite small considering the amount of premises.
Police say the initiative was made easier with the cooperation of licensees.
In many cases, these licensees are blamed for things that are actually happening outside the premises through the fact of they're trying to be responsible by refusing entry.
The crime survey will be evaluated over the next 6 months. Police have applied for further funds to expand it across the state. Blake Doyle, NBN News.
He's new and he's just arrived in the Breakers first grade. 17-year-old rookie Brad Swancott was hard at work today, and he'll get a lot more of it at Breakers Stadium tonight. Swancott makes his debut at the expense of Liam Baker, who's out with the flu, becoming the youngest goalkeeper to start in the NSL.
Well, actually, the first I've heard it was just from you, so I don't know, it comes a bit of a surprise as all things are, I suppose.
With both teams needing to win to keep in the hunt for the finals, it's likely to be a busy night.
Because he was telling me that I will be the centre of attention, but I'm not sure. We'll see how things go.
Things start at Breakers Stadium in under an hour. The Newcastle Rugby League pre-season competition continues this weekend. Tonight, Cessnock hosts Souths and Toronto play Wests, while there are 3 games tomorrow. Maitland meet Lakes, Waratah Mayfield visit Curry, and the Bay battle the Butcher Boys. The official pre-season cup for the Wildfires kicks off this weekend. Newcastle plays Warringah. The Newcastle District Cricket Association semi-finals start tomorrow. Waratah Mayfield play Cardiff Boolaroo at the No. 1 Sports Ground, while the other matches between Wallsend and Charlestown at Carl Oval. The Falcons are out of contention in the NBL pre-season cup but are still looking to head into the season proper on a winning note. They meet Sydney and Townsville tonight, then Townsville and Cairns tomorrow. And Surfest is hotting up. The Bodyboard Pro is on this weekend at the Cliff. Jonathan Upton, NBN News.
The Brunker Road branch was closed for business this afternoon. At midday, a man disguised by a mask walked into the bank waving a handgun. He demanded money, threatening staff and customers. As quickly as the bandit arrived, he was gone, fleeing in a vehicle with a moderate sum of money. The robber was last seen driving east in Victoria Street in Adamstown in a white Hyundai XL Sprint hatch, stolen earlier from Gamers Motor Auctions. The number plate is TOV 726. Police are looking for a male aged 30 to 40 years old, of medium height and build, with a dark complexion. He was wearing a brown zip-up tracksuit top and white T-shirt. Today's robbery resembles 5 others in recent months, the last at a bank in the Junction a month ago, all using getaway cars stolen from car dealers.
A body blow for the Breakers even before kick-off. Jason Bennett stretchered from the field after being hit by a baseball from the pre-match entertainment. If that was bad, the next 4 minutes were worse. Needing to win to keep their faint finals hopes alive, Newcastle was under fire. The Knights charged and rookie goalkeeper Brad Swancock couldn't have had a worse introduction to the Ericsson Cup. 2 minutes later, the visitors found space again and Andrew Marr finished off. Number 3 nearly followed, but Swancott palmed off the challenge before Clayton Zane brought the margin back to 1 in the shadows of half-time. Troy Halpin almost managed to find the leveller shortly after the break, but it was the scoreless second half, the Melbourne Knights winning 2-1.
A number of celebrities and sporting identities put their golfing prowess to the test today on one of the most challenging courses in the state. Among them, Kerry-Anne Kennelly and Fergie's sister, Jane Ledecky.
It's most interesting. Yes, I've got to say it's in beautiful condition. It's a fairly tough course. If you go a little off the fairways, it's a free-for-all.
The trying fairways, however, failed to bring Kerry-Anne undone, proving herself much more than a hacker with this chip to the green.
Glad you got that one.
Cypress Lakes is the only golf resort in New South Wales. Although not a golfer himself, the Premier Bob Carr was invited to do the official honours, encouraging other regional areas to set up similar attractions. Integrating 5-star accommodation with conference and sporting facilities, the resort is expected to boost the Hunters' tourism profile both here and overseas.
I think it's another quality tourism investment in the Hunter Valley, and it means the Hunter is setting itself up to get international tourism, and for every 18 overseas visitors you get one secure full-time job.
Simone Cobb, NBN News.
It's the biggest move of the season in ARL betting. Newcastle's odds almost halved overnight by bookmakers. The Knights' victory was the most impressive this season, the 44-0 result equalling the record for the club's biggest winning margin. Adam Muir, one of the heroes, after his 3-try haul.
3 tries in one game, I'm very happy with that, but I don't think we'll ever have it again, mate.
The Knights' backline ran riot over the Crushers, even without halves Matthew and Andrew Johns.
It's obviously the best backline since I've been associated with the club, and many would probably say, you know, in the club's history.
Leo Denver was rapt with his effort.
I'm very happy, mate, very happy indeed.
While Adam McDougall shared the sentiments of a backline that's oozing confidence.
We're just enthusiastic, we back each other, we believe in one another, and we know we're better than any other backline, we just want to show it.
Malcolm really has the unenviable task of team selection for Friday's clash with Sydney City. Matthew Johns is back, but that scoreline is hard to forget.
44-0.
Meantime, a strength and conditioning session for Hunter in the wake of the club's first victory in Super League. The Mariners won 38 points to 10 on Saturday.
It'll lift the confidence sky high now, especially we need it going down to Canberra this week against the Raiders.
The Mariners beat Canberra in a trial at Queanbeyan. They don't expect a warm welcome this weekend.
I don't think it'll sit pretty with them sitting on the bottom of the table, so you know they'll be fired up to beat us, that's for sure.
Jonathan Upton, NBN News.
Testing times for Alastair McLean, the mine deputy who reported water 3 times prior to the Gretley disaster. The last warning came less than 24 hours before 4 men were drowned after cutting into an old water-filled shaft thought to be at least 100 metres from where they were working. But the mine deputy said he didn't think the water was a safety hazard, despite linking the build-up to the old workings and admitting a test drill would have saved the lives of the miners. Mr McLean said, "I'm not mincing words, I did not find it abnormal or unusual, but there was water trickling from the face, that is a normal thing." In a cut in cross-examination, it was suggested for the second time during this inquiry that Mr McLean had been pressured to downplay his reports of water in the mine. Peter Hall QC, representing relatives of the victims, asked Mr McLean, "Are you trying to protect anyone?" The mine deputy replied, "Definitely not." The inquiry continues in Newcastle tomorrow. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
A driving force behind the Hunter Symphony Orchestra, artistic director Roland Peelman says he no longer wants to be associated with the company.
I have worked 6-7 years, to build up an orchestra of quality. I believe that is no longer the cause the orchestra board wants today. So I think it's better if we then part ways.
It's no secret that the HSO has been plagued by financial troubles throughout its 12-year history. The crunch hit last Thursday when little more than 200 people turned out to a concert, resulting in a $34,000 loss. The board of directors then took immediate action, reinventing the orchestra to appeal to a wider audience.
For the short term, that Hunter Symphony Orchestra should cancel their core programs, or what you might call the conventional classical programs or contemporary programs, and that we look to put on a wider range of popular music.
But Mr Peelman says the company often catered to mainstream audiences with concerts featuring James Morrison and Tommy Emmanuel. He believes the board has now gone too far for commercial reasons.
I realise the financial predicament. It's not easy to keep an orchestra going and of course there never is enough money, but I personally believe it is a mistake to now to redirect the orchestra entirely into a pop's direction.
Although Graham Dietz admitted funding shortfalls triggered the new direction, he says recent surveys of local audiences demanded a less classical repertoire. Simone Cobb, NBN News.
The university campus was the altar for a shotgun wedding, a reluctant bride given away to a financially demanding husband. Presiding over the exchange of vows, a particularly hard-headed Education Minister, Amanda Vanstone. Although many on campus have resigned themselves to increased fees, funding cuts and tougher eligibility criteria for AusStudy, the Students' Association believes it's not too late to reverse the changes.
I think a lot of students just feel really defeated, and that's why it is really important for us to really rally hard against these regressive changes and get a win.
The association has been buoyed by the federal government's recent backdown on the AusStudy means test, but fears the government will again have education in its sights in the May budget.
The educational system just cannot handle it at the moment.
The campaign to stop a further expansion of uranium mining also visited the Newcastle campus today. The Wilderness Society claims there are some 18 proposals for new mines set to go before the federal government.
The coalition, when they came to power, have said that they will basically allow as many uranium mines as the market will bear.
The federal government's first test will come in July, when a decision is expected on expanding the Jabiluka mine bordering Kakadu National Park. Phil Hind, NBN News. The Railjet 2000 works on the same principle as the local service station car wash, only on a much bigger scale. Freight Corp spent $7.8 million building the new facility at its Newcastle depot because it boasts the busiest and dirtiest locomotives.
The Hunter represents the heart of our operations. Not only is it the centre of our coal operations, but it also is our focus for half of the state's wheat crop.
Where in the past washing a locomotive was the work of a 2 or 3 person crew, the Loco Wash requires a single operator who never gets wet. The new system, imported from Britain, is also more environmentally friendly.
Up to 70% of the water is recycled in this plant, which is about the most you can squeeze out of the type of technology available here.
The new facility isn't just a train wash, it will also be a service centre. Originally it was only designed to cater to minor services and inspections, but its role has been expanded.
We've elected to put more of the heavy maintenance up here so that the Hunter Valley can become more self-reliant in terms of its locomotive maintenance needs.
For Freight Corp it means faster turnaround times, with locomotives out pulling freight wagons instead of sitting idle. Phil Hind, NBN News.
$6.10 and $2, $1.50 and $1.70. The Quinella $12.70 in the trifecta, a little more than $100. Race 9 was over 1,400 metres. It was the General Roberts Hotel Class 1 handicap. And the top weight paid $6.80 and $2.60, the Quinella $33.90 and the trifecta $902.
While it's an odd combination, grunge and grapes may be just the thing to convert snack food junkies. Crossing the edge to fruit and veg is the thrust of the Racy campaign, telling young eaters they'll get a kick out of life if they raid the fruit bowl. The aim is to break down stereotypes.
Probably the idea that when a lot of children were younger, you sat at the table till you ate all your greens and you weren't allowed to go, sort of thing. So I think it's really, we have to look at fruit and vegetables in a fresh light.
While Mars bars and chips are still all the go for younger snackers, studies by the Newcastle Fruit and Vegetable Market show they're open to change, providing it's a cool option. The television campaign will begin this Sunday. Vanessa Spark, NBN News.
For years, residents at Redhead have been campaigning to save these old Lambton colliery buildings from destruction, claiming they represent the area's heritage. They were concerned the owner of the site, FAI, had plans to demolish the buildings. Now, after an appeal by Lake Macquarie Council, the Heritage Council has stepped in with an order ruling that the buildings are not to be destroyed.
Definitely a win for the community. They've fought long and hard to save this place, which is of heritage significance to them, but it's also of heritage significance to the rest of our city and to the state, in fact.
Meanwhile, FAI has recently lodged a development application with Lake Macquarie Council. It wants to subdivide the land into 130 lots, converting the buildings into a gymnasium and community centre. The council rejected the application, asking for more information on the urban design and also calling for more work to clean up the contaminated soil in the area. FAI took the council to the Land and Environment Court, which yesterday dismissed the application.
The appeal was dismissed. The key grounds for that dismissal were the engineering issues. The court felt that the decontamination had not been adequately dealt with, and nor had drainage and nutrient runoff been adequately dealt with by the application.
No one from FAI was available for comment today. Emma C. Ossian, NBN News.